Right back.
Rahul back. Glad to feel those tones. Who got that first spiritual experience they'd like to share with us?
I got one.
Very good.
I was driving up a street that has about 45 mile per hour speed limit, 3-4 lanes, and I was on the phone talking to Aaron. So if he's here, he can verify my reaction to what happened. But as I'm driving down the street, just 3 cars lined up in each lane, just stopped. So I'm driving up and I'm like, I just think it's normal, so I stopped not too far behind them. A couple seconds go by and I'm trying to figure out why they still sitting there. They just sitting there. I'm like trying to see if there's construction or something in front or if it's a roadblock. So I drive up a little bit and there's nothing stopping them from going. And I start paying attention and nobody in the cars is moving. In fact, I started paying so attention that I didn't see their brake lights on, the brake lights. I'm like, what is going on? And then out of nowhere, it's like somebody pressed play and they just kept driving. Like it wasn't no inertia that caused the cars to rock or nothing. They just, someone just pressed play and then they just drove on. Like nothing happened. Everything seemed
calm. Look up in the air. Probably a craft was in the area.
Oh, like,
are you there, son?
You were like, yeah, bro.
Rahul back. Rahul back. Go ahead,
Yeah, this is like in the middle of the day, like 3 o'clock, broad daylight. Nobody else sees this. I'm like, it almost looked like Professor X was around and he paused the whole room or the whole area wherever he was. I didn't see a bird flying or nothing.
But you were moving.
I don't know what that. Yeah, I was moving
they singled you out. Whatever the higher power was. Hi, son.
Oh man, I didn't know what this.
You all right?
I'm all right. This happened a couple.
Nothing to be afraid of, son. No. Don't ever fear. Can you say the prayer?
I wasn't. I wasn't in fear. I was just shocked. Like, what is that?
Things like that will start happening to you more and more frequently. All right.
All right.
Okay. Can you start the prayer?
The Passcode de Amun-Rayay. Una bemo maduhu. Uma deyahu. Deru li pasan zaman hu wakat. Kana babi anum. Kalal hamara al-Rayay Amun-Rayay. Ashilil Fahabadat Mufahabaha. You can I trust by way of Amun-Rayay and his master teachers and his papyri and his wonder for this day and time, Panabab Yanum. All praises are for Amun-Rayay, the Thar, overseer of the heavens and the earth. I am the Wapi.
Thank you. Any other spiritual experiences, or what is that first question?
Amun?
Yes.
I know last class, we got off subject. You was trying to teach us something. I forgot what it was. And I remember last class Sunday, and we got.
Yeah, I was trying to give you all an overlay of the new heaven and new earth.
I have a question, Mr.
I'll do my best.
How did the beings before, like in the time of Noah and Adam and stuff like that, they lived for 600 and 800 years, but after a period of time we were capped at 120?
Because before the fall, you all were immortal. You lived forever. You didn't have to eat or breathe. You couldn't die. You couldn't age. You were immortals. So when you first spiraled down, or right after the fall, you still couldn't eat. In other words, the residual effect of being immortal was still on you all. But as time passed and man dropped further in vibration, began to sin and rebel against the Creator more, his days became only 120 years. also marked by the Messiah Yahshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ, as you described, who at the age of 120 climbed up the Great Pyramid at Giza, and he went to the center of the top, which was flat without a cap plate, because it didn't have a capstone, because it was significant of reminding you all that the pyramids or the information that went into building them didn't come from the physical realm, but from the spiritual realm. So it was not seen. But anyway, if you had drawn a straight line from one corner to the other and from the other corner to the other diagonally, you would have created a big X. And I went and laid down on the center of that X and gave up the ghost at the age of 120. That's why today they use the phrase X marks the spot. But after the decline of man, the more you feel, just like right now today, if you got two brothers and one lives a real sinful life, drinking, smoking, and all that, and the other one lives a healthy life, which one do you think would live the longest? Probably not the sinner.
The one with the healthy life?
That's right. The righteous, healthy one. Not always, but normally. Crime doesn't pay. Sin doesn't pay. The wages of sin are death, okay? Next question.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Messiah.
I love you. And there's another reason too, son. Let me say, Zyrie. Wait 1 second, sister. There's another reason too, because of the calendar. Back then, we had a 6-month year way back then, right? So, 20 years was actually 10 years by your Gregorian count now, also, okay? Go ahead, sister.
I'll say we never talked about the Black Wall Street burning.
Okay, go ahead. Please tell me what you found out about Black Wall Street, the Tulsa riots.
Well, I found out, I didn't think it would have happened if a young black man would have never crossed the track to work for the white people. Because he didn't really touch the woman. You know, he said he tried to say that he touched her and raped her or whatever. But
he did touch her. You talking about the brother Diamond? He was going up in the elevator to use the bathroom, and the elevator stuck. That was accident, and she told him it was an accident. The sheriff and them, but they still wouldn't go for it. But the guy Diamond Dick, he fell against us, you know, because of the lurch of the elevator, and she screamed and he started running, and so that was it.
Yeah. So I just figured he could have never been over there working, that's all.
Say it again.
He should have never went over there to work for the white people.
He never should have. Should have stayed on his side of the tracks, right?
Yeah.
But he made a lot of money shining the shoes. That's why they call him Diamond Dick. Because he had a very expensive diamond-clad buckle on his pants. But now he knows, sister, if you'd have been there to tell him, maybe he wouldn't have got killed. And that might have prevented that whole riot. But you understand that whole town was seething. The white people had undercover rage in them, just below the surface. They were extremely jealous of blacks. You understand? Because they had established their own sovereignty, their own town, their own businesses. They had an oil well, and all the black people were living in high society, buying pianos and gowns and tuxedos and just living high, like brand new cars and beautiful homes. You understand me? Especially the poor pecker was just like right now today. So what they want to do is convince you that a nigga ain't shit, you can't do nothing. Because they keep their boot on your throat. But when they lift that boot up a little bit and allow you to move freely, then your real nature comes to the top, and they find out what they dreaded, that you are deities as well, as you are indeed deities, gods. And you can build heaven right here on earth without the stench of being prostrated by the devil's touch. All right? But did you want to tell people, sister, what the white people did when that siren went off that morning?
The sheriff said you can kill them if they have a gun, but bring them to them. But they killed them, hung them, they shot them. Well, what happened was he was trying to take the gun from him, and it went off and shot a white man. And after that, they started killing them all. They burned the whole city, town down, everybody's houses and everything.
Yeah. And even the government was involved, right? Because they sent a government airplane dropping firebombs on the houses and businesses, right? Burning down black hotels and banks, and they destroyed a lot of black wealth. In addition to that, when they made the black people run away from town and away from their properties, the white people broke into their homes and stole all their wealth and stacked it up on trucks and put it in their pockets and brought it to the white side of the tracks, right?
Sure. Yes.
Well, sister, I just want to know how long you going to let this stuff go on?
Oh, I'm not. It's going to stop.
I love you. That's right. And it's going to stop right now with you. Thank you and bless your soul. Who else has a spiritual mute your phones, spiritual experience or a question?
I have a question, Messiah.
I'll do my best.
More recent, like a lot of thunderstorms are happening, and like the lightning, like you can go and see that strike the ground like multiple times in like real close locations. And so far, like it's hit trees here, and like like real close, and it's consistent.
Well, I would like to inform you all something that you never knew. Lightning, first of all, doesn't strike from the sky down. It comes from the ground up. Research it right now while we're on the phone. Lightning comes from the ground up, okay?
That's true, yeah.
All right. When you research that, brother, then get back at me. Who's got that next question or spiritual experience?
I have a question.
Very good, sister. Go ahead.
My question is, Amun, how do you work towards foregoing the ego?
How do you do what to the ego?
How do you work towards overcoming or foregoing the ego?
Self-realization. When you realize that you're one in all, you're one particle in all, right? Like one atom in the body. You're one part in all, and all the rest of the parts are identical to you. There's no cause for having ego when you realize that you're one of countless others, different expressions of the all, right? Because any ego that you could imagine would have to belong to all, but doesn't even belong to all as a conglomerate, right? So it would be foolish for you to imagine that you are egotistical when you really realize who and what you are and what your station is in life or existence. In other words, you are God, sister, but everybody, we're all gods, right? With the same unlimited potential as you.
Sure.
Even Jesus, in his greatness, revealed to you that one day man would do greater things than him, because he had expanded his consciousness and reached a vibratory level where he overstood what his place was in the grand assembly of the Most High. You follow me? In other words, when you reach a certain conscious level, you realize there is no big or small in the eye of all.
Sure.
Right.
So
it's only devils that are egomaniacs because they're ignorant. Go ahead.
So does the ego transcend or go over, say, incarnations? Does that follow you?
No. What the ego is, the id or personality, it's likened to a diver that puts on a mask underwater so that he can see clearer, and instead of going down with his eyes open and irritants in the water obscuring his vision. The personality is just something that ties you more rigidly to the physical plane or the illusion of physicality, all right? It brings it into view to make it a lot more believable. It's not a permanent part of you, though.
Okay, so the ego.
It's self-aggregated. It's self-aggregated. It's just a projection of the oversoul. to create the illusion of separateness or oneness or you being unique and this, that, and the other. Go ahead.
Okay. So is the ego tied in any way to karma?
Yes, because the arrogant ego can create a negative karma, and a humble personality can create a positive karma.
So karma, is that passed through incarnations?
Karma is caused through events. It's the effect of many causes.
So there's a way to stop the karmic wheel?
Yes.
When you have that
One exercise I give you all is to imagine a big giant clock with a pendulum on it swinging back and forth. Tick, tock, it swings to the left and then swings back to the right. If you could imagine sitting on a little round disc on the bottom of that long arm, when it swings to the right, you're swinging into the positive aspect of your nature or into good. And you just let your feet dangle down, enjoy. But when it hits the midway point, starts swinging over into the left, and your personality takes over your id or ego, then you have to raise your feet up because there's the fires of hell, because desires lead to suffering. And so but a master learns when he swings to the right, to leave his feet dangling. When he swings to the left, he raises his feet, but not regular people. They travel through life like a snake on a cigarette on a path. That's why they continuously get burnt, because the snake doesn't travel straight. The way the snake travels, if you're surrounded by fire on your left, right beneath you, before you, and behind you, they constantly getting burnt. You follow me?
Sure.
Straighten up and plow right.
Okay. Halahat Messiah.
I love you. There was another question?
I love you.
I love you more.
Yes, Messiah, I did research it, and it says, yes, that the lightning comes from the ground, and then what we see coming from the clouds is usually a return strike.
That's right. Now you learned something today that you didn't know before, right?
Yes, sir.
I love you. Next question.
I love you. Thank you so much, Messiah.
All right, it's my job.
Rahubat,
Rahubat.
I have a question.
I'll do my best.
Messiah, could you tell me a bit about the Adam's calendar? I know it's supposed to be the oldest structure.
Did you say about the atom? About the atom?
Adam's calendar. Yeah, Adam's calendar.
Adam's calendar. Okay. That began by the Anunnaki Enki, one of the main scientists, main four scientists. But that was a project they had in Zimbabwe, as the Sister Martha describes the Great Zimbabwe, and that's a fitting title. Enki's gold mines were there, and it was a very large settlement, larger than, it had more land area than the city and counties of Los Angeles. And everybody knows Los Angeles is spread out. It's not condensed like London or New York. You follow me? It's a very large area, you know, that they had those beehive circles on, that they bred the Lulu Amilu, the primitive worker, to work in the mines at Mount Odapa, right?
Yes. That was an interesting story the sister talked about.
I can tell you what you look up. Write down Michael Tellinger.
Yes,
you
did
send
us an email. You did send us. But what I wanted to ask was that how did they choose the species out of the species that they created?
Well, they didn't choose. What they did is that when the Anunnaki came down, and when the Anunnaki came down, they were charged by the elders to mine the gold that was discovered on Earth by Alelu, Anu's cousin. And Alelu found the gold here in the water, and so they used to mine it from the water and separate it, but they found out there were larger quantities in the earth, actually, and much more accessible. And the Anunnaki were digging to go with a very intricate machinery, but since they are so high up, every one of them thought that that was beneath their dignity to do what they considered manual labor, and they rebelled and threw down the tools. The thing is that the elders never relented, and they demanded that the tally be met. It was an irresistible force meeting an immovable object. And the scientists had to come up with a solution, so it was Enki that said he scoured this planet over, back and forth, and he found a primitive being that they could use as a genetic hanger, which was the Lulu Amilu, the Homo erectus, the chimpanzees, layers, etc. And so they devised a plan to have a 600-year project, 100 years for gathering species, 400 years for genetic manipulation, and 100 years for education. And they did that in 3 laboratories they called Shemti, on the dark side of the moon, on Mars, and on the plain, on the Giza Plateau in Egypt, right? And that's where they brought the captive apes, and they took the egg from the female ape in a petri dish, and they got a volunteer, a canal digger, a very intelligent Anunnaki named Gastu, and they took his tima, right, his DNA, his genetic material out of his bone marrow, and they binded that with the egg of the ape woman in the petri dish and let that culture grow. When it matured enough, there was one Anunnaki scientist out of the 4 named Mother Ninti, or Mamie. She volunteered her womb, and they, through virtual fertilization, they placed that culture on the walls of her womb and let it grow. They did that 7 times, always a failure, because they would always, urinate on themselves and be blind or crippled, this, that, and the other. Enki tried it 7 times, and he came up and was, successful at creating a man in their image and likeness. Like I told you before, the female and the male were so alike the Anunnaki, you could stand them nude next to the Anunnaki, you could not tell the difference. Except with the male, the foreskin on his penis hang down, and that separated, he looked different from the Anunnaki male. So they created the law of circumcision to correct that, okay? But after they created them...
the Anunnaki were... Sorry, you're saying the Anunnaki were circumcised, that's why
they were born naturally like that, without that excess foreskin.
Oh.
Right.
So that's why people are doing the...
in the same way Africans do head binding to replicate the Anunnaki, right?
Right.
Yeah. But
so
they started doing. They performed surgeries on the man and woman to disconnect a lot of their DNA to make them more servile or more of a slave, and it removed from them a lot of their curiosity and their wonder, as to. So they didn't want any more. If they created them exactly like the Anunnaki, right? What did the Anunnaki do when they were commanded to do the work? They rebelled and quit, right? So if you created a man and woman exactly like them, they would eventually rebel and quit. So they disconnected a lot of their intuitive function to reduce them to a forgetful being, an enocyte, a Lulu Amilu, a primitive worker, so that they would just dig unquestionably and do the work. Now, what was amazing about Enki's gold mines in the Great Zimbabwe is that they would do this, also bring that culture of those beings into those beehive-shaped buildings that they had, and they were like bees. They would mature so quickly that they would be able to be an adult working in the mine in 6 months. You understand?
Yeah. So, Amun,
yes.
Tell me, how did they choose which species of the hominid to use that were good enough for the
They use more than one. That's why when you look at different people, you see different traits. Like Clark Gable, the actor, is a chimpanzee. Ron Howard is the orangutan. Do you understand?
Oh, okay. So,
just look at him. Go ahead.
Yeah. So what I'm saying, they did that work. How
Where are they, have they evolved and advanced them to a higher level now?
How does that happen? Is the question?
Have they advanced the hominid?
You mean
Are they
the little Amilu?
Yeah, are they advanced?
Yeah, they're a lot more. They've evolved a lot, but they're still primitive in the sense that they're spiritually inadequate to rejoin the Intergalactic Confederation, right?
Right.
But there are those of you that have so much of the DNA from the Anunnaki that's undisturbed that you are capable of reaching a conscious level of vibration where you can be reunited with the Intergalactic Confederation or the Star People. But people that have too much monkey in them, they can't make it because they just can't evolve. They don't have the tools to evolve. They're degenerates.
Yeah. So you spoke about the Anunnaki skull structure. Were they born like that, or is it?
Were the Anunnaki born like that?
Yeah, you say.
Yes, they were.
People bind their heads, like
the Anunnaki were born with a long cranial cavity to accommodate the massive brains that they have.
Okay.
And Akhenaten, Nefertiti, they also had those physical characteristics. They were the parents of Amun-Rayay, Tutankhamun. His parents were Akhenaten and Nefertiti. And Amun-Rayay had the same long skull. But now me right now, on my return as a modern day Pharaoh, I don't have the very long head, but I have a large cranium. I wear a size 9 hat. So that when Malachi created the order, the ancient myth called Melchizedek, he had 3 levels. He had the red feathers for the earthling for Nasut. He gave white feathers to the angelic beings on the level of Malakut. But very few he gave the black feathers to, except he and myself, that represented Lahut, or the realm of the Most High. But when I got mine, it was a size 8.5, and it was too. I couldn't fit it. It looked like a little beanie on top of my head, looking funny. So I stopped wearing the outfit because of that. Because I kept reordering a size 8 or 9. If they could find a size 9 rather, and they never did comply. And one day Malachi spoke about it in class. He said, "Y'all sure came up those feathers fast." And I never did raise my hand and say, "Yeah, but my head was too big for everything you had," you know.
Yeah. So it was a tradition for a lot of the Hebrew that
say it again.
Bind their heads. I said it's tradition for a lot of the Hebrew to bind their heads. Long time ago, they used to do that.
Well, there are certain African tribes that bind their heads, just like the Chinese bind their feet, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But that's an indicator that there were many Africans that were exposed, like Indian tribes, to the Anunnaki.
It's not only them. I remember my dad saying.
Who's talking in the background? Please be quiet. Mute your phone. Go ahead, sister.
I'm not just on
Mom. Shut up, brother.
Mom, is that something?
Stop talking over the sister.
Is that person? Is that person?
Go ahead, sister.
Yeah, my dad said when it's a tradition for the carriage to do that, when he, you know.
Is it the tradition for who to do that?
It was a tradition. The carriage.
Yes, it is a tradition that's been passed down. That they bind their heads. But that unfortunately doesn't make them think like the Anunnaki. It only makes them look like them to a certain extent, right?
Yeah,
and they're actually deforming their children. The Anunnaki skulls are much different. You can look them up right now. Look up extraterrestrial skulls on the internet, and you want to look up the word sagittal suture. The Anunnaki they don't have a sagittal suture in the skull like human beings do, right?
Right.
That's how they can identify them as extraterrestrial and not from Earth, that these are actually ET extraterrestrial skulls. They don't have the sagittal suture. Somebody should look it up. Alien skulls without the sagittal suture. Hit search.
So that means they've just got one hole in their skull so they grow.
It's not a hole. That's the point. It's minus the hole.
Oh, it's in
or the separation. Yeah.
Sorry? It's not a separation like the human. Okay.
Yeah, right.
Thank you for that.
I love you. Next question.
I have a question.
All right.
This is Ben. Okay.
I love you.
I love you more. By your head.
I want to remind you, your package is waiting for you. Go ahead.
Okay. By your head being a little larger, does that mean you have a bigger brain or what?
Yes.
And do that mean that you can hold more knowledge?
Information? Yes.
Information.
But I want to remind you all about Padambabianu, so it's not necessarily only about brain size, because he had a very small, what he called a pea head, right? So the prophecy was that to follow this messenger, even if he was a raisin head slave, talking about Malachi when he came, so he didn't have a very big head, but he did have the longer head, just like the singer James Ingram, right?
Right.
And I said that to say this, Malachi is brilliant. So what I'm trying to say is I wouldn't think because you had a small head that kept you from being brilliant, you follow?
Ooh.
But when I was born, not only was my head real big, but my eyes were extremely large. I can send you all pictures of my baby picture, and then you look at it, and you know right away that I'm an extraterrestrial.
Yeah.
No question.
It's kind of like an evolutionary thing.
Yes. They protect a certain gene lines, but let me tell you, they protect a certain gene lines. That's why I was trying to explain to the Sister Martha that everybody that was sent over here to America was not a reject, but there were some divine lines that came over here. But actually, how I came back into the world is that when the Egyptians, the leaders among the Egyptians, the deities, would pass away, that they went to an extensive embalming practice, and they did that to preserve the body. The Egyptians now, thousands of years old, the fingernails and hair are still growing, right? There's life in them. So the reason they did that is because when the time came in the last days, the extraterrestrials would come back and unearth us as mummies and take cells out of our body and repeat the process they did with the Lulu Amilu and bring us back into the world, okay? The fact that their fingernails and hair is still growing is indicating that there's life in the mummy after thousands of years. But you have to understand that your body is a hologram, and that every cell in your body is a replica of the other. So if they take a cell from your hair, toenails, or anywhere on your body, it's a whole complete you. You hear me, Cheryl? And
yeah,
it's a replica of you. Just like they did by taking the cell out of the udder of the sheep Dottie and reproduced an exact replica of her.
Yeah.
From one cell. So, of course, in the case of my mother, they took a cell out of Tut Amun's mummy, a live cell, and they treated it and then artificially inseminated her with it. placed it on the wall of her womb.
Yeah.
And she became pregnant with me and gave birth to what you would call a reincarnated Pharaoh, Amun-Rayay.
Yeah. So it's a sign of being kingly to have that size head. Or did all the kings have that size head?
Yes, all royalty. It wasn't necessarily those that were like elected office, presidents and that and the other, but royal bloodlines, in other words, people that came from the stars, they were always preserved in that way in sophisticated societies like Egypt.
Okay.
I mean, talking about the big brains, is that similar like the scientists with the...
Exactly.
Do you have two brains or just a big brain?
It's not, I'm not hydrocephalic. In other words, she's speaking about the scientist Yaqub that came from the center of the earth. He was hydrocephalic. He had two brains. That's why his head was so giant. But I just have one brain that's large. But my head is not as big as a hydrocephalic skull, right?
Right.
Just look up hydrocephalic skull. I had a neighbor in New Orleans. I had a neighbor in New Orleans that had a hydrocephalic skull. He looked just like the Deniacal. And I asked him respectfully if I could take a photograph of him. He said yes. And I sent that to Malachi to put in the book, and he did. What I'm telling you is that many of the extraterrestrials, what I'm saying to you all is many of the extraterrestrials from Shambhala and Agartha, they have descendants that's walking on Earth right now today. Like the Junaean Giros.
Like that.
I'm sorry?
There's quite a few children born with the defect. It's a defect. Well,
it's not a defect. It's not a defect to them. Like the T-Rose, they have the real tall head. Have you ever met a person that has a head that goes straight up in the air a lot? And you thought it was they descend from those T-Rose, or what they call on TV the cone heads.
My uncle.
But you're always extraterrestrials. Go ahead.
What about the beings that have flat heads in the back?
Those are reptoids. Reptilians have a flat head in the back. Look at all snakes. That's how they swim under the doors and etc. because they have a flat head.
Yeah.
Anywhere that you can listen to me. Anywhere that you can put your head through, any tight opening you can put your head and you get your shoulders through, you can bring your body through it.
Right.
And since snakes don't have visible shoulders and a flat head, they can crawl into almost anything.
I have a question.
Sure.
Who or what is a Lemurian?
Lemurians are a civilization of people that existed that were after Atlantis, right? They were highly evolved, sophisticated race of beings. Like the Atlanteans, all right?
Yes, I'm here.
And the Atlanteans and Lemurians were actually from the planet Meldeck before its demise. You know, during that catastrophe, many of them that lived under the water, in other words, people that lived on the surface, the Meldeckers lived on the surface, the chocolate ice, etc., they were destroyed by the collision. But the ones that lived under the water were basically the military. That's why they were kind of rough and mean, because the water acted as a cushion, like a baby being protected by the womb or the amniotic fluid in the womb. So when the mother falls, a lot of times the baby still lives. The impact didn't kill them, and they launched out war, and many of them migrated to Earth. Okay.
Okay.
And started a very high civilization here, like Atlantis and Lemuria.
Okay. Thank you very much.
That's why you got so many disagreeable beings on Earth, because of the reptilian bloodline.
Are Marians agreeable?
What? Not for the most part. They're very disagreeable. You could even say evil.
They're very disagreeable.
Let me tell you, there's more than one species on Earth. It acted like a biodome. That's why you have many people here with 6 fingers instead of 5, right, or 6 toes. You follow?
This is heaven.
Adam and Eve had 5 fingers. Go ahead.
No, I was saying this is heaven. Who's asking you this question?
I didn't understand.
Heaven. This is heaven. Who's asking you this question?
You want to know more about heaven?
No, that's okay. Never mind.
No, she said she's heaven.
My name is Heaven.
Oh, how are you, Heaven? How are you? Good to hear your tone.
How are you? It's good to hear from you. Yeah.
I'm doing all right. Bless you. Bless you.
Thank you. Same to you. Absolutely. So I just have some questions about the Lemurians because the name came across me, so I was kind of curious.
Okay. First thing to do is you should have some information about your Lemurians in your spiritual package. If not, just look it up on YouTube. You'll find out there's a lot of information going to and fro in the world, right? But do it quickly because the Caucasus is taking down all relevant information because they don't like people to be W-O-K-E, woke, all right?
Okay.
And they know I'm back and I'm spreading consciousness all over the world. So they're trying to blunt that endeavor in any way they can.
Oh, okay. No. Absolutely.
Yes.
I'm not trying to do that, but, whatever you want to, whatever is next. Let's get to it.
For example, 10 years ago, you could find out, you could just type in black extraterrestrials and learn all day long. But they've removed 80% of that content. They don't want the world to know. They don't want the world to know that the majority of extraterrestrials are indeed melanites, black. Just like when they show you pictures of the Pharaoh or a movie about Egypt, they make Pharaoh Yul Brynner and Cleopatra Elizabeth Taylor, right?
Yep.
They want you to think that the cursed leper is everything and everybody. That's the deception dial test, right?
Yeah, they're removing a lot of that, not only on the internet.
They steal your history because they have none.
That's true.
That's why they said that the whole world was created 6,000 years ago, because that's when they were brought into this ecosystem 6,000 years ago. But you see, they feared the day. That's why they made it a sin punishable by a crime punishable by death for you to read, because they didn't want you to start thinking. Because if the world was created 6,000 years ago, where did you get diamonds and coal from? Oh, what about all those dinosaur bones in the Smithsonian, right? Just for like 2 examples. Or the pyramids. It's just a ridiculous white man's lie to say that everything was created 6,000 years ago. I got food in my freezer older than that. He's talking about that's when he began.
Yeah.
Yeah. You notice in Europe there are no great ancient buildings or sites. They keep pointing to Stonehenge, which is nothing but rubble, but just some big old caveman rocks that they keep trying to compare to the pyramids, which is a ludicrous thought, right? Trying to compare some caveman rocks to Egyptian civilization is just a ridiculous lie, and it's childish on the face of the attempt.
Allegedly, they built their churches on top of the temples.
What temples? White people don't have temples.
No, our temples.
Oh, I follow you. Yes, yes. Yes.
Structure, allegedly. I'm not sure. I read that.
But there's just no evidence of ancient civilizations in Europe, because that's where the cave people came. 6,000, just a few minutes ago, you see you got Nubian footprints right along the side of dinosaur footprints, and dinosaurs were here 3 and 4 million, 100 million years ago. You understand?
Yeah.
So black people are. But white people just fell off the truck. They just came in there's no such thing. We don't know what white people are. They just fell off a truck a minute ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't have a history. That's why they always stealing yours. His history is 2 words. HIS-STOR. His story. Even biblically, he's got to steal your history. That's why he's got to paint Jesus and Moses and he got to paint everybody black in his pictorial Bible. I mean white, you understand?
Yeah.
But the words contradict your pictures. Description of Jesus in Revelation, hair of a lamb's wool, eyes of many fire, feet from under his robe with the color of fine brass as if they had been burned in a furnace, nappy head, red-eyed black nigger. Right? Or Saul, my skin is burned up, my skin is black upon me. Or Jeremiah 8:21, for the hood of my daughters am I black. Or, I am black but comely, O ye daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar, which was jet black. I am black. Or man was created sonically a black mud. You follow me? And you can go into Numbers 12 or into Leviticus and Deuteronomy or in Hebrews, and you can see that leprosy is white people. You understand? So what I mean is that I'm here to try to break this spell of inferiority, because they try to call you all a minority, which is inferiority numerically, right? Because you actually outnumber white people on the planet at least 10 or 15 to 1, right? But enough about that. Who has that next question, or would you like to find out more about heaven?
Who bad? I mean,
Who bad?
I got a question.
Okay. Your question.
I got a question about what was the purpose of the sahuf? Hey, I'm on
the sahuf. All right, the sahuf.
Yeah.
Listen, the sahuf was the first scripture of the 10 pure pages that was given to Abraham, right? And then you had the Torah. In other words, the sahuf was one of was the first scripture delivered on earth to man. All right.
Hey.
The sahuf was sahuf, right? I love you. Next.
I have a question.
I'll do my best.
I do want to know more about the new heaven and new earth, but I want to ask you, if we're in a 3-dimensional world now, and the next dimension is 5D, how do we graduate to higher dimensions, or are we just stuck in 5D?
No. You always ascend tab plane after plane. That's what this journey, it's not a destination. Heaven is not a destination, it's a journey. So you continually evolve, you continue to spiral up. There's no glass ceiling. Are you following me? Just like Bashar, I sent you information from him. He and his wife were 5-dimensional beings, but now they're transcending into 6D, okay?
All right. That means there's more tests? Or...
Now, Malachi and I came down from the ninth dimension for you all.
Yeah. Is Bashar a draconian?
No. He's a great and human hybrid. In fact, his channel, Darryl Anka, is a descendant of his.
Darryl
I'm sorry?
Who did you say is a descendant of his?
Darryl Anka. The guy that channels Bashar. They're related. DNA, blood related. But I too am a hybrid. I'm a chimera too, because I have 3 parents. I have 2 physical parents, my mother and my father, and then there's that Gabriel or that angelic host that y'all call Amun, right? So I'm just like you all. I'm just like you all anatomically, but what's inside of me is completely different. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm not a resident. I'm not a resident here. Yeah. I'm a visitor. Go ahead.
Yeah. How about us? What we compose of what extraterrestrial apart from
because
Earth?
all of you are different. I'd have to visit you all to tell you that, right? I can't tell you who you are over the phone, right? Because no 2 of you are alike, not even brothers and sisters.
Okay.
Right. But the fact that you are here on this class with us is more than a subtle indicator that you have a lot of extraterrestrial DNA. Are you following me?
Yes, I do.
Why would you care about this? Why would you care about this if you was just a nigger or a peckerwood? Why would you care? Right? Where would the questions come from? If you were only Lulu Amilu. Next.
But I'm sure we aren't all Lulu Amalulu because we were made in the spiritual before we came.
That's exactly right.
Incarnation physical.
But the problem with that is that once people star 6 your phones, once being spiraled down to this physical vibration or the fall of man, people got so involved in their physical form that they ignored the inner light and just paid attention to their outer shell and carnal brain, right? And by that became almost 100% physical. For example, those among you on earth that heard the same silent voice we always did coming up. In other words, when you contemplated doing something wrong, like stealing something or whatever, that voice would come inside of your head and say, don't do that. That's wrong. And then you would walk off. Well, the thing is with the negative among us, the evil, they heard that voice and ignored it. And they ignored it so long that it became a thrust upon their hearts. They don't hardly hear it anymore. Are you following me?
Yes, Amun, I've got an interesting story to
Very
tell
good.
you.
Very good.
My husband said last week he was walking along the street and someone in front of him dropped some money, £10, and he picked it up and he gave it. So he said, "You dropped this," and the guy said to him, "No, I didn't. It's yours." Like that. The £10.
Well, that's a very good story. Positive in both directions.
Yeah, he thought it was strange, Mum, but he was really puzzled. So I said, perhaps it was just a test.
That's right.
That, to say if you give it back. But he said, well, if I don't see anyone who dropped it, I would have kept it.
Right.
So that's what he said. But I saw the person. He said, so I was puzzled as to why he would say it.
I think you were right in that it was a test. And even if it wasn't, it showed character in the person that dropped it. Because if he accidentally dropped it and he saw somebody bring it to him, he was compassionate enough to realize that that act in itself deserved reward and let him have it.
That was really peculiar. It brings just brought to mind where they say angelic beings.
That's right.
They walk the earth. And it's
let me tell you, all of you are human beings and angelic beings are exactly the same thing.
Okay.
What did the fallen angels get cast down to, Anne?
To the earth, to earth.
Now you call yourself human beings. You understand?
Yes.
But earth
so
is populated.
For the sins of our ancestors also, karma. So
yes.
Pain.
Yeah, for rebelling in heaven, right.
Right.
But you weren't sentenced and what have you and cast down by the Most High. It's your own vibration that cast you down.
Yeah, of
when
course.
you recalcitrant, when you became rebellious and negative, you couldn't sustain the ether vapors anymore. So you you just woke up here in the pits of hell.
Obviously, we all fell short
of the glory of God.
No doubt.
Right. Well, Malachi and I weren't cast down. Malachi and I were not cast down. We were sent by Elion El, the Most High. I mean, Moses and Jesus wasn't cast down. You follow me?
Yes, of course. They were here to do a job.
Exactly, a mission. And you all are my mission. In fact, you all are my family that are going to be with me in the new heaven and new earth. Those of you that persevere and make it and earn your seat, right?
Well,
I had a vision of a sister here in the class right now that was posting up our post in different places. I saw it, right?
Okay.
Those of you that donate to this mission and post up the post in earnest to try to wake up the 144,000, you'll be the ones that experience that new paradise, that new paradigm, the great new wonderful.
Amun.
Yes.
Could you talk about that vision? Because that's actually kind of funny. Because I actually have a plan of how I'm gonna post like.
Is this you, Sky?
No, this is Jasmine.
Oh, Rahubat, Jasmine. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm driving, so if you can't hear me, because I'm driving right now.
I can hear you pretty good. What's your question?
Oh, I didn't have a question. I was saying, the vision that you just said, like you said you seen someone like posting the post.
A sister posting up the post all over, yeah.
Yeah, so that I have a plan of doing that. Like I created like 3 pages for the class.
I love it.
And yeah, I won't share too much until I actually do it. But when I do it, I'm gonna share it to you.
I love you. I call you the young sister with the old head.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. Of course, you know we're all the same age. We're all timeless. Go ahead.
My question is, when we're going to heaven, right? Can you bring like an animal? Like, can you bring your pet?
Yes, you can. I'm bringing my cat. I'm bringing Think. I'm bringing her with me.
Yeah, I'm bringing mine too. Okay, that's what I want to know.
Amun?
Yes?
I thought you had to have a soul.
But the thing is, for example, if you have a ring of a signet of the life giver or something, even if you fail and you don't make it, you go to the crowd. Your rank can go through, but you'll get left behind. You can bring animals with you as pets, yes, and they too will start evolving. Maybe might start talking.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've heard that before. Gotta digest that.
Well, I hope you're learning things here that you never learned before.
Yeah, this is a new one. I saw animals used to a spirit. So
You can bring one if you wish. There are animals in heaven and hell. The guardian to the gate of hell is a dog named Darn. And in that hell, everything is Arctic, really freezing cold. The dog named Darn is the guardian to the gate.
They talk about that in that Greek mythology, so.
Yes. The thing is that mythology all mythology is rooted in reality, okay? Like, when you were taught nursery rhymes or stories like Jack and the Beanstalk or Pinocchio, what it is Geppetto, when he was forming Pinocchio, he was a wooden little boy, a puppet. He sent him to school to get an education, but he opted instead to go to a place they call Pleasure Island. And he hung out with the bad boys. He learned how to steal and smoke and curse and what have you. And then one day a giant wave came up over Pleasure Island and washed him out to sea, whereby he was swallowed by a giant whale. And he lit a candle, and made the whale cough him up on the land. And he was all weak and withered. And Geppetto found him, put him on the table, worked on him again. And then an angelic being, a fairy, came down with a wand and hit him with a green light. And he came back alive, and he turned into a real little boy, right? That's the story of Jonah and the whale. Jonah was supposed to go to Nineveh, but he went to Tarshish. He boarded on a ship to get away, and then the sea got rough and tossed about. The captain found him in the belly of the ship, and Jonah told him, said, "My Lord sent me, and I was disobedient. If you want to save yourself and your crew and your ship, you have to toss me overboard." The captain complied. As soon as he did, the sea calmed right down. But there was a specially prepared fish, a giant fish that swallowed Jonah, and he stayed in the belly of the fish for 3.5 days, 72 hours. But eventually the fish coughed him up on the shore of Tarshish, the city he was commanded to go to teach the people. And then an angelic being created a gourd there that when he drank it, it gave him life and vitality. And Jonah jumped up and ran so fast, he ran to those people and jumped up on a stump and started teaching them like a whirlwind for old and new. In other words, he turned into a real guy, right? That was the story of Pinocchio. Mythology, but based in reality, okay?
Can we talk more about New Heaven, New Earth?
Yes, we can. Just 1 second.
Thank you.
Amun.
My glasses.
Amun.
Yes.
When we would go outside to do the stars, I began to see more stars in the sky again. Could you explain that?
No. In the case. All right. I know this. To prove there's Andrew, are you here tonight? Khufu, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
That's
yeah,
you, Andrew?
I'm here tonight.
All right.
Yes,
Andrew,
sir.
do you have a globe? Do you have a globe in your home?
Yeah, I do.
Go and get it.
It's a decorative one. Okay.
But is it really accurate? Okay, I'm gonna blow your mind tonight.
Oh no, it's a decoration. Yeah, it's
but I mean,
like
can you see the countenance on
it? Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna blow your mind. Remember when you were in school and you had the United States of America, the North America, and then there was a sliver of land in South America directly under it?
Yeah.
So North America and South America were lined up, so there was a Pacific Ocean between South America and Africa, the big giant ocean, right? Right?
Between North America and South America?
No,
yeah.
between South America and Africa.
Oh, yeah.
Now look at that globe, and you're going to see that South America is almost touching Africa, and the Pacific Ocean looks like a little lake. You can throw a rock across it. South America is not under North America anymore.
Oh.
You see it?
I got a couple of globes. This one has a nice, big, sizable space in between it on the one I got here.
Listen, do you see where South America is no longer directly under North America?
It's just a little bit to the right of it instead of directly.
That's
down.
right, just to the right of it. Going toward Africa more, right?
Yeah.
That wasn't like that before, you understand? Before the shift.
Oh.
There are lots of geographical changes now. In the skies, the heavens and the earth, it's a new heaven and a new earth. So that there used to be, basically, in the southern hemisphere, Andrew, 4,500 stars that were visible with the unaided eye, without optics, without telescopes or binoculars. And the northern hemisphere was 4,500 stars that were seen with the unaided eye, right? But now, when you look up at the southern skies, you can almost count all the stars that you see on two hands. You follow me?
Hey, I thought it was just because of light pollution.
No. But you remember when you were real young, you used to go outside and the sky was covered with stars?
Yeah.
Just like you remember little children playing in the summertime everywhere, don't you?
Yep.
Crowds of them going back and forth to the store with sweaters tied around their waist, all that. Remember that? Buying chips and candy and pushing each other and playing, riding bikes and all that up and down the street. What happened to them, Andrew? Why don't you see them anymore like that in big crowds? Where'd the stars go?
Because they grew up.
No, cut that out.
They ascended.
They can't grow up because they're... Son, don't try to explain the unexplainable. Don't that they grew up, because there will always be kids to replace them. All older brothers and sisters have younger brothers and sisters, and then they grow up and have children. You understand? Either the children are there or they're not. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So you got to ask yourself, where did they go? Where did all the stars go, Andrew?
Now that is a great question. It's
no, it's not.
I don't know.
It's not a greater question than the missing children.
Well, the missing children.
You remember, even during school.
As you explained.
Even during school, you see the buses pull up, and all those kids get off making that noise, going to the store, fight, and doing all. You remember crowds of children everywhere, but not anymore. You don't see them out there like that. Even when you go to the supermarket and Walmart, they like that, you don't see a whole bunch of children.
That is strange.
No, you don't.
Where are they at? You just didn't notice it, right?
when I did.
No, they fell.
I noticed it. Yeah.
Just like the animals, the dogs, stray dogs that used to be on the street.
Right.
So I did notice more or less.
But see, when people see indicators of this, a new heaven and a new earth, they try to explain it off as memory failure or something like that. Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
Can you look up real quick? Alice in Wonderland, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? But now I want you to type in magic mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? Alice, comma, magic mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? Let me know what you find. Let us know.
Okay. All right, give me one moment here.
Sure. Kufu, are you here?
Sure.
All right. You should all be researching this for yourself.
Okay.
Magic mirror on the wall, Alice in Wonderland, comma, magic mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?
Hi.
You see it? Somebody else type in, instead of King James Bible, type in Prince James Bible. Prince James. In the New World, that's what it's coming out to be. And many of you here know about all the Bible changes inside the Bible because I went through hundreds of them with you, if you remember, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Lord's Prayer is different, on and on. Now the Bible says there is no God. You follow me? It's not the Bible you grew up with.
Interesting.
Yeah. You see Magic Mirror on the wall, Andrew?
Medium.
Huh?
Yeah. Let's see, the phrase. Yeah, the phrase is famously associated with Snow White, yada yada, Seven Dwarfs. Medium.com says, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? Of course, the story would be the same.
But doesn't it say somewhere there, magic mirror on the wall?
Let me see what this Facebook post says.
See, what they did is they made a lot of corrections, right? So that the internet are trying to keep up with these things to make corrections because people are waking up to the fact that there are a lot of changes. If you prefix your search with Mandela effect, comma, Alice, magic mirror on the wall, it'll come right up.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Because I grew up remembering it was mirror, mirror.
We all did. And Curious George had a tail. He used to hang from things all the time. He don't have a tail now.
He doesn't have a tail now.
No. Mm-mm. And the man on Monopoly, he has a speckle in his eye. He doesn't have it anymore.
Okay, now that's a new one. Because I remember him having the little monocle.
Monocle in his eye, right, but no more.
Mm-hmm.
Not over here. Smokey the Bear is different. Everything is different over here. The sky, the children, geography. Italy is shaped different. Australia is different. It's a protruding peninsula coming up, jetting toward Europe on Australia. The island to the right of Australia is no longer there. The United States is longer and slimmer. China is much smaller geographically. Your anatomy is different. Your kidneys are larger. Your heart is left to center. A lot of you have a part in your skull. Reach up on the side of your head, Andrew, where a man has his part and rub back and forth or up and down to see if you can find like a indentation or separation in your skull plate.
Through the middle?
Right where, you know where you used to part your hair?
Yeah.
Up and down, you feel it?
Uh-huh.
That's right. That's to accommodate the extra brain growth over here. Your skull is separating. Getting larger.
Just in front of my hairline.
Yeah, but it's getting larger to accommodate the excess brain growth now. Because you're metamorphosing into a new being, like the caterpillar into a butterfly, a completely new being. You follow? They say Nubian real quick, but that's what it is, a new being, all right?
Got it.
Right.
Cool.
But these things...
Mandela effect.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, Mandela effect gives you the most information about the comparison. And I try to say that it's, you know, that thousands of people heard it improperly, or yeah,
not possible.
That's a lot of people, though.
Well, that's a damn lie. You remember Mirror, Mirror on the Wall?
I do.
Let me show you one that did. Look up Prince Mandela effect. Come up Prince James Bible. You should all be doing this. Everybody knows that it's King James, right?
Yeah.
Right.
It's morphing into something else over here.
God.
Well, I found one Amun about that.
Let me hear it, please. Let us hear it.
Okay, it says, how old would a Prince James version of the Bible be? The Bible I have belonged to my mother-in-law. She died in 1997 at 96 years old. This Bible states, to the Most High and Mighty Prince James, by the grace of God, King of Great Britain, France, and Ireland, defender of the faith. I cannot find a print date. It does say Oxford, printed at the University Press. London, Henry Froude, Oxford University Press Warehouse, Amen Corner, New York, 91 and 93 Fifth Avenue. Oxford Facsimile Series number 5. All Bibles in Great Britain, etc., are printed under license from the Crown. The terms of the license are printed on the frontispiece of the Bible and would include both the and
now,
the license.
sister, very good. But the point is, everybody here remembers King James, and there's no blur in our mind about memory. Am I right?
Right. Correct.
Right.
Yeah. Correct.
But now, she just revealed to you Prince James Bible. And yes, we're talking about the same Bible. So it's magic mirror instead of mirror, mirror, right? All right. For those of you that were interested in some information about heaven, I wanted to let you know I was going to do a healing class tonight, but let's go ahead on. Oh, it's 10:21, she said. So I only have 4 minutes. I can't go into heaven again for the 4th class. I'm sorry. Who else remembers some Mandela effects that we can bring to light? What I really like is Jiffy peanut butter, right? It's just Jif now. You know that, Andrew, huh? Look it up.
Yeah, I've seen it now.
Yeah.
I know
JFK had one.
Say it again, Library.
I said I know JFK had a Mandela incident.
Yes. What was it? Martha, are you here?
Yeah. Where there was more bodyguards in the vehicle.
Mardi Gras, you see?
It's bodyguards. Yes, sir, with JFK.
I don't know. I don't understand you, Ivory.
Talking about there was multiple, like there was more people with JFK during the assassination than what they remember.
What about JFK assassination? What about? I can tell you that the car that he was in was a 2-seater Lincoln convertible, but there's a museum here that has the 3-seater Lincoln convertible. That's the assassination car for John F. Kennedy. Because the whole premise of the Mandela effect, or the whole revelation of it, is Nelson Mandela, a civil rights attorney in South Africa that was put on Robben Island, a penitentiary, right? And that he died in penitentiary in 1985. But in many of you all's reality, he was released from penitentiary and became president of South Africa, replacing de Klerk, right? Yes. I love you all. Amun-Rayay. We got to do better with getting people in class.